Welcome to the fourth unit of second section of physiology paper. The title of the presentation is Insulin, Thyroxine and Growth Hormone. So we are going to see about the structure and function of these two hormones. Okay. First we will see about insulin. So insulin is a peptide hormone which is synthesized from the beta cells of islets of Langerhans of pancreas. And this hormone requires zinc ion for its function. The insulin molecules usually contains two polypeptide chains, and these two polypeptide chains are connected by disulfide bond. One polypeptide chain is known as A chain, the other one is known as the B chain. Okay, then the lifetime, the half-life of this hormone, if you see, it is only 3 to 5 minutes. About 50% of the insulin hormone is degraded once it passes through the liver. These insulin hormones are all catabolized even in kidney as well as placenta. Why this hormone is to be catabolized so fast is because it decreases the glucose level. The sole source of energy of an individual, the sole source of an energy of the universe is going to be the glucose molecule. But this hormone decreases that glucose molecule in the blood. So we should not allow this particular hormone to remain for more time. If it remains in your body for longer period of time, then you are in coma because you are feeling hypoglycemia. That's why this hormone is otherwise known as hypoglycemic hormone, because it induces hypoglycemia if it persists in your blood. That's why in the diabetic patients, when they are taking insulin through an intravenous injection, they should be very careful. If they are taking too much amount of insulin, then it may lead to death of an individual by this coma condition due to hypoglycemia. Okay, so such a dangerous hormone is this insulin hormone, but at the same time it is also life-saving hormone, because absence of this hormone leads to the disease, metabolic disease or metabolic syndrome, diabetes mellitus. Okay, so we are all protected from the diabetic mellitus state syndrome because of this particular insulin hormone. So it actually saves us from the diabetes mellitus. So this insulin usually produced in pre-proinsulin form, where it contains a signal sequence in this N-terminal end. Once the signal sequence is removed from this pre-proinsulin, then it's become a proinsulin. The proinsulin is made up of a single polypeptide chain. Okay, then the C-peptide, it gets cleaved in the secretory granule itself. So it loses the C-peptide and you get A chain and B chain of the insulin. And this format of insulin with C-peptide is known as proinsulin. Without C-peptide is known as the insulin, and this is the insulin which is functionally active. And it is going to contain 21 amino acid in A chain and 30 amino acid in B chain. And the first amino acid of A chain is glycine, the last amino acid, that is in the C-terminal end, is asparagine. Similarly, in the case of phenylalanine, the N-terminal amino acid is phenylalanine and C-terminal amino acid 309. Then the sixth amino acid of A chain is involved in intradisulfide bond with the 11th cysteine residue. And then 7th cysteine residue of A chain involved in interdisulfide bond with 7th residue of cysteine of B chain. Then 20th amino acid of cysteine of A chain involved in interdisulfide bond with 19th amino acid of B chain. So we have two disulfide bonds. If you broke this disulfide bond, then the insulin becomes inactive. So the active form of insulin requires these two disulfide bond, as well as this disulfide bond is also required. So for the biological function of a insulin molecule, insulin is actually produced in the form of pre-proinsulin as a single polypeptide chain, but after its post-translational modification, it's become a two polypeptide chain. So one should not get confused that since there are two polypeptide chains are present in the insulin, then the insulin will have two genes in the chromosome. It is not the case, because insulin have a single gene. The single gene is actually produces this hormone, but during the post-translation process, the single polypeptide chain is actually broken down into a 2 polypeptide chain. That is how we are getting 2 polypeptide chain here. Next, if you want to see the function, insulin is a peptide hormone, so it is going to have receptor on the cell surface. Should not forget that. Then, in the case of carbohydrate, it increases the glucose utilization by the cell by increasing the transport of glucose from the blood to the cell. So all the glucose are transported to the cells. The glucoses are stored in the form of glycogen. So it promotes glycogenesis. At the same time, it inhibits glycogenolysis. It also inhibits gluconeogenesis. So that is what the effect of insulin in glucose metabolism. So this is what I told. The insulin will have receptor on the cell surface. So when the insulin binds to this receptor, insulin receptor, then it activates a tyrosine kinase, and this tyrosine kinase will activate the insulin receptor substrates IRS, and this IRS, through certain messengers, it will exert the function of the insulin. One of the function is increasing the glucose transporter. When the glucose transporter comes to the membrane, then it increases the inflow of glucose from the external region. It may be a blood or extracellular fluid to the inside the cell. So that is how it promotes the glucose availability inside the cell. Once the glucose is available inside the cell, it is converted into protein or fat or glycogen, or it may be used for some other energy producing purpose. So that is how the insulin actually increases glucose utilization. In the case of protein, the glucose is responsible for the conversion and storage of proteins in the body. It increases the formation of protein from the ATP molecule. That is, by synthesizing more ATP, it promotes the protein synthesis. It decreases protein catabolism. It accelerates protein synthesis. It increases the transport of amino acid in the cell from the blood, so that the amino acid can be utilized for the formation of proteins. At the same time, it prevents conversion of protein into glucose. Okay, so that is how it acts on a positive mode on protein metabolism. It increases the protein synthesis and it decreases the breakdown of proteins. Then in the case of fat metabolism, it also increases the synthesis of fatty acid and triglycerides. It increases the fat to the transport to the adipose tissue. Okay, so the insulin promotes storage of fat. So that is how its role on fat metabolism. With respect to growth, along with growth hormone, insulin promotes growth of the body by its anabolic action on proteins. Because for the formation of cells, you need fat, you need protein, you need carbohydrate. So this insulin will synthesize both fat, carbohydrate as well as protein. So it's have a role like a growth hormone. It also has the protein sparing effect because it's responsible for the conservation of proteins by increasing the glucose. So it is act as a protein sparing effect by this insulin. So this ends the role of insulin. So next we are going to the second hormone, that is thyroid hormone. As the name indicates, this hormone is going to be produced from a thyroid gland. The thyroid gland, the hormones are coming out of a protein globe. Protein, say a globe which is containing so many tyrosine residues. So by the pinching of reactions, the thyroid hormones comes out of this thyroid gland, thyroglobulin protein. So the thyroglobulin is a glycoprotein made up of 2 subunits and has a molecular weight of 660 kilodalton. It contains 10% of carbohydrate by weight. It also contains 123 tyrosine residues, but only 4 to 8 of this normally incorporated into thyroid hormone, and they are removed from the thyroid gland. The thyroid gland actually secretes tetraiodothyronine, triiodothyronine, and calcitonin. Okay, so this thyroid hormone is going to come to the category of this tetraiodothyronine and triiodothyronine are collectively called as thyroid hormones. So of this T4 contributes around 90%, whereas T3 is contribute only 9 to 10%. So the change of iodination, deiodination reactions are all controlled by the enzyme thyroid peroxidase. The oxidation and reduction of iodine with the secretor thyroglobulin is mediated by thyroid peroxidase. So this enzyme is going to control the production of this thyroid hormones. Then the iodination and deiodination reactions are also achieved by the action of iodothyrosine deiodinase enzyme. So these enzymes are responsible for the conversion of different forms of thyroid hormones like T4, T3, RT3, and even MIT, monoiodothyronine, diiodothyronine. So these are all molecules are formed during the synthesis of thyroid hormone. So when this particular enzyme is not present, iodotyrosine deiodinase, then diiodothyronine and monoiodothyronine will usually appear in the urine. So it clearly indicates those hypothyroid patients, due to this genetic disorder of lacking of this particular enzyme, can be easily identified by identifying the DIT and MIT in the urine. So you can easily identify that the patients are deficient of this particular enzyme. Usually humans secretes about 80 microgram of T4 and 4 microgram of T3 and 2 microgram of RT3 per day. Usually MIT and DIT are not secreted. Okay, so this is the diagram which shows how these thyroid hormones are released from this thyroglobulin molecule. So the thyroglobulin molecule will contain the tyrosine residue. From this tyrosine residue, we are adding this iodine molecule. When you are adding iodine, it's become Mi2. When you add one more iodine, it's become Da2. Then with this Da2, if you add one more Da2, then it's become T4. For this Da2, if you add MIT, it's become Ti3. For this MIT, if you add DIT, it's become reverse T3. So this is how the thyroid hormones are produced. After the production of thyroid hormone, they are all released by the breaking of this linkage. Okay, then it is released into the circulation. So this is the structure of a triiodothyronine, which is otherwise known as thyroxine. It is a functional hormone of thyroid. Thyroxine is the functional hormone of thyroid gland. It is going to contain two phenyl ring, which is linked by a oxygen, and then one side you will have a nitrosyl group, and then 4 iodine moiety is there, and CH2, CHNH2, COOH. So this is known as the tetraiodothyronine. If you are removing one iodine, then it's become triiodothyronine. It is a T3. Okay, so this is the structure of T4 and T3. So these things are produced from two tyrosine molecules. From the two tyrosine molecules, you are producing either T4 or T3 or RT3. But the biologically active form of thyroid hormone is tetraiodothyronine. Okay. So again, this is what we already discussed. The amount of thyroid, how much it is produced. You can see the thyroxine is the one which is produced in higher concentration, because this is the hormone which is going to play a vital role as a thyroid hormone. Even though other hormones can be interconverted. You can see this can be converted 27 times to this. This can be converted 36 times to this. So the conversion is also depends upon the requirement of the action of this thyroid hormones. When you are not requiring this thyroid hormones, then these conversions will occur. So it's become inactive state. That is what the role of this thyroid hormone is going to do it in the metabolism. So calorigenic action. So it is going to increase the body temperature, BMR, basal metabolic rate. So the thyroid hormone increases basic metabolic rate. That's why it is known as a calorigenic action. Okay. So then cardiovascular system. So the cardiac output is also increased by the action of this thyroid hormone. Okay. So the cardiac output is increased. So the same type of function is also achieved by the action of this catecholamines. Not only thyroid hormone, even the catecholamine can also do the same function of increasing this heart rate. Then in the case of nervous system, you can see it in hypothyroidism. Mentation is slow. The cerebrospinal fluid protein level is elevated. Thyroid hormones have a marked effects on brain development. Thyroid hormones deficiency during development causes mental retardation, motor rigidity, and deaf mutism. So these are all the things are caused by this hypothyroidic state. So which shows that the thyroid hormones plays a vital role in the brain development. And then their action of this thyroid hormones and catecholamines will have synergistic role. You can see this. The toxicity of catecholamines is markedly increased in rats treated with T4. They will have a permissive and synergetic effect with respect to cardiovascular role. Then respiration. It increases the rate of respiration indirectly. Okay, then in the case of gastrointestinal tract, it increases the appetite and food intake. So it increases the glucose level. So glucotropic hormone. It increases insulin-like activity. In the case of glucose level, you can say. Even in the case of muscle, it increases muscle weaknesses in the case of hypothyroidism conditions because it stimulates more muscle contraction. Similarly, in carbohydrate metabolism, increases absorption of carbohydrate from gastrointestinal tract and it increases the calorigenic activity. The effects on growth. Thyroid hormones are essential for normal growth and skeletal maturations. So you can see those persons who are not having thyroid hormones will have retarded growth. So it shows that the role of thyroid hormone. In the case of cholesterol metabolism, it's actually decreasing the cholesterol level because it increases the LDL level. So that is what the relationship. Similarly, in the case of protein metabolism, it increasing translation of RNA. It increases the transcription. So in turn, it increases the translation. Similarly, sleep. You should have a normal level of thyroid hormone for a normal sleep. If you are not having this hormone, then you are in the somnolent state, inactive state. When you have more amount of this hormone, you are in the restless state. So that is what the role of this hormone with the help of, with respect to the sleep. So this ends the role of thyroid hormone. Thyroid hormone is going to have its receptor in the cytosol, not in the cell surface. It's behave like a steroid hormone. It can easily pass through the cell membrane and it's bind with receptor in the cytosol. So that is the action. Next hormone is the growth hormone. The growth hormone does not have a specific target. It can act on almost all tissues of the body, cells of the body. It increases the growth of the cell by means of increasing cell multiplication and cell proliferation process. It has another name of somatotropin. It is otherwise known as somatotropin. A growth hormone contains 191 amino acids. Its molecular weight is 21,500. Okay, then you can measure the amount of growth hormone is around 3 nanogram per ml. It is available both in the protein bound form as well as free form. In the half-life, if you see, it is only 66 to 20 minutes. Okay, then daily growth hormone output was calculated to be 0.2 to 1 milligram per day in adults. Then this somatotropin will function through molecules which are known as somatomedin. So through this substance, this growth hormone will show its function. And this somatomedin are of two types. One is insulin-like growth factor 1, which is otherwise known as somatomedin C, and insulin-like growth factor 2. So this growth hormone is going to function through this insulin-like growth factor 1, like insulin-like activity, anti-lipolytic activity, protein synthesis, and epiphyseal growth. The growth hormone can also stimulate sodium retention, decreased insulin sensitivity, and lipolysis, protein synthesis, epiphysical growth. Again, this is a diagram which shows the growth hormone. Since it's a peptide hormone, it is going to have a receptor on the cell surface. So it will bind the receptor which are present on the cell surface and it stimulate the other messenger molecules which are like IRS and other STAT dimer. Once the STAT dimer and IRS and phospholipase C is activated, and then it can activate other messenger molecules. Through this messenger molecules, it can change the expression of gene through which it can exert different functions. So that is how the growth hormone will function. And it increases the growth. At the same time, when you have more amount of this hormone is produced, then you will feel acromegalic condition. So that is the overaction of this particular hormone. Then the hormone actually promotes protein synthesis. It increases transport of amino acid and increases the protein synthesis. So it is also a protein sparer hormone like insulin. And then growth hormone is also increases the fat utilization so that more amount of fat is utilized for the production of ATP molecules. Okay, so because of this reaction, it can increases ketone bodies. By means of increasing the ketone bodies, it induces the state known as ketosis. So that is the function induced by this growth hormone. So at the same time, the growth hormone decreases the carbohydrate utilization by decreasing the glucose uptake in the cells, increasing glucose production by the liver, increased insulin secretion. So this is how it decreases glucose utilization. Growth hormone effect is also called as a diabetogenic. So this condition, a diabetic condition which is stimulated by this growth hormone, is otherwise known as insulin resistant effect. So the growth hormone can cause insulin resistant effect is going to be caused. Then electrolytic homeostasis, maintaining the electrolyte level, especially sodium, potassium and calcium. So these ions levels are controlled. Even phosphorus level is also controlled by the action of this growth hormone. Okay, so these mineral metabolisms are all maintained by the action of this growth hormone. So usually this growth hormone is released from anterior pituitary, and the stimulus for this growth hormone is actually derived from the hypothalamus. By growth hormone releasing hormone will stimulate the anterior pituitary produce growth hormone. Then the growth hormone can function to the tissues directly, or through this insulin like growth factor 1 functions. So through this somatomedin molecule also it functions, and it exerts its action in the target glands. So that is how these three hormones, what are they? Insulin, thyroid hormone and growth hormone. So they functions after producing from their target, from their source organ, as well as it exerts the effect in the target gland. So target gland means the gland in which the hormone is going to function, exert its function. Okay, the source gland is the gland from which it is going to be produced. So if you take insulin, it's a pancreas. Beta islets of Langerhans, beta cells. Thyroid cells. In the case of growth hormone, it's anterior pituitary. So from there they are produced. Okay, so for insulin will act almost in all the cells and tissues. Major target, if you see, it's a muscle and liver. Similarly, if you go to thyroid gland, it is going to act in all the different cells. Similarly, growth hormone, it does not have a specific target. So it functions almost in all tissues and cells. Okay, so this is how these three hormones are functions. And if you have any questions with respect to this presentation, you can contact me either through mail or through phone 9865866168, through mail sivabio@gmail.com. These are the list of books which are utilized for the preparation of this slide. The books like Genang Review of Medical Physiology, Wonders Human Physiology, Guyton Hall Textbook of Medical Physiology, Fox Human Physiology, Netter's Atlas of Human Physiology, an Introduction to Human Physiology by Sherwood, and then Essential of Medical Physiology by Sembalingam. So these are the books are used for the formation of this particular slide. So you can also refer these books to get knowledge about the physiology. So with these words, I conclude the 4th unit of 2nd section of physiology paper. Thank you very much.